gentlemen, welcome to the Gory Hole, where Katie and I sit down and interview some of our closest friends in the horror community about their love of horror. I am your host, the patron saint of podcasting, the Warden Mad Redder, and I am here with probably my best friend in podcasting, Miss Katie Kinzy Bay.
Hi.
Also, the woman who will not let me do an episode of Getting Off Without Her, so it makes sense that we are doing this. Now, as I said, we're going to sit down in the Gory Hole and interview people about their love of horror. You know, sit right there at that hole and get deep inside them and their love of horror. That's the plan.
Wow.
And what?
I said, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay. I couldn't do that without Katie because I don't know if you guys know this, but she has a show called Inside the Mind of, where she's been doing this. She's been getting in people's heads, in their minds. She may or may not have a degree in like sociology and may have taken classes in psychology, done like these things. So
work, but yeah.
she knows what the fuck she's doing. Me, on the other hand, the only person I've ever interviewed is Katie, and I did voices and got her drunk for it. So it was just a shit show. I have zero experience. I am here to lean on her, but the best way to introduce you guys to the show is a dueling interview where Katie interviews me and I interview her.
Yeah.
So I'll ask her a question. We'll talk about it. She'll ask me a question. We'll talk about it. We'll go back and forth and see what insights we can come up with. Maybe we'll learn something new about each other. Maybe not. Who knows? Hopefully you guys learn something new and something you enjoy about Katie and I. Yeah. With all of that said, I believe the only way we can start this, Katie, is what's your favorite scary movie?
Oh, what's your favorite scary movie? It's Scream. It's Scream. I mean, God. 1996, year I was born. The movie turns 29 this year, as do I. It's great. You know, woohoo.
Could have absolutely thrown me a curveball there and just said anything else.
That's okay.
Like Barricade.
Now, why'd you gotta do that? Why would you say that? Barricade is a terrible movie.
You love Scream. We know you love Scream. You've talked about meeting Matthew Lillard.
He's so nice.
Skeet Ulrich.
Ulrich. I didn't like fully meet him, but I have a group picture with him and Matthew Lillard. Yeah. So they're very nice men, very beautiful men. They are the first people behind an iconic killer in horror. So.
And is that specifically what you love about the franchise? Or Scream in and of itself?
The vibes of Scream. So, like, Scream is, like, my favorite. Like, in the franchise, the original and I think 5 are, like, neck and neck. Because 5 brings in, you know, Sam and Tara and the core 4. You know, like, us. That's how we got a group nickname because of Scream.
We just stole it, but yeah.
It's fine. It's okay.
I mean, listen, they made fun of it because it was so corny and cheesy, and we were like, that's awesome. We're going to do that. And then we added a 5th member and fucked it all up.
And then numbers didn't matter. So, yeah. But it's a combination of things. It's meta. It's fun. I don't know. It's just the vibes of Scream are just, it's a comfort movie, you know? And I will watch it multiple times a year because I can. And I have that power in my life. Like you watch a multitude of horror movies as your comfort movies.
Yeah, one specifically, which is a little bit worse than your comfort movie.
I mean, it's an iconic first scene.
I mean, so you talked about it. When you tell people that your comfort movie is a horror movie, Scream or whatever, you get weird looks from normies. We'll call them
normies.
Yeah. People who look at horror as a lesser than genre of film compared to those of us who love the genre of horror and embrace all the things that it is and does and stands for. So coming at them with Scream, which is, mainstream, big franchise, so on and so forth, versus what I would tell them, which is a very bloody, gory roller coaster of a movie.
Which I'll ask you the question you asked me, Matt. What's your favorite horror movie?
No fucking clue at this point. No, for real. So I've been watching horror movies. I'll be 38 this year, so we'll roughly guesstimate about 33 years. I have been watching horror movies. Yes. I've been a fan of horror movies for over 20 because I really started getting into loving horror movies, like loving horror movies in my teens. That's when it went from something that I used to do with my mom because she loved horror movies and she liked watching me be scared shitless to oh, hey, you know what? I kind of like this.
Yeah.
Her favorite horror movie was always Halloween, and that to me will always be the quintessential best horror movie of all time. Is it my favorite? Yes and no. It's not my favorite in its own franchise. I'm a Curse of Michael Myers girly. All right, Halloween 6, love that shit.
Yes, girlies.
I got the thorn tattoo. I'm actually showing it off properly for once.
I'm so proud of you. He never does, ever.
But if you ask me what my favorite horror movie is that I've watched in the last 15 years, my answer has been consistent since 2013, which is Evil Dead 2013.
The year it came out, yeah. That might help.
And that is the comfort movie that we were talking about. I fucking love that movie. I don't know what it is about it because I wasn't a huge fan of the Evil Dead franchise prior to. I know. I've grown to appreciate it, and you and I have even sat down and watched the first episode of Ash vs. Evil Dead, and we need to discuss more about that later. Okay. But because it combines, I think, the two really well and makes something that wasn't really my cup of tea a little more enjoyable. But this movie came out on my birthday. I went to go see it. Then I went back the next night and watched it again. After the opening scene, I gave it a fucking standing ovation. It is the movie that I tell everyone. They're like, oh, well, if I wanted to get into horror, what should I watch? I'm like, well, here, sit down and watch this opening scene and tell me what you think. Because in my opinion, that opening scene is the opening scene that will hook anyone who is really interested in a horror movie. You cannot watch that opening scene and be like, holy fuck, what happens next? This is how it starts. What happens next? And I did it with you and Reek. I've done it with a bunch of other people. It's my favorite thing to show people. It's my favorite opening in all of horror. So I guess Evil Dead 2013 currently is my favorite horror movie, but that can also change. New horror movies come out constantly and they're doing cool things. I really liked Late Night with the Devil. That was really fucking fun last year.
Crazy.
Halloween Kills and just Halloween 2018 was really fucking good.
It was phenomenal.
You never know.
Dare we say?
I'm always looking for new slashers, which actually brings me to my next question for you, Katie. Okay. What is your favorite horror subgenre?
So the answer is multiple. The main one is psychological because the degree is in social work, not sociology. But that's okay. They are different. I did take a sociology class. Hated it, but I took it. And I was a psych major. I took psychology and.
So you're a socialist. No, is that different too? Not the same thing?
They're all the social things are different.
Sociology, socialism.
I have social anxiety.
Hey, listen. It's getting very social tonight in the Gory Hole.
Ew. But the fun thing about the psychology of everything is I took psychology as a senior in high school. It was the last period of the day, every day, and we got to do a serial killer project. I don't know if I ever told you this.
Okay, I'm listening.
So everyone in the class got to break into groups, pick a serial killer and you have to make a video project about it. Literally just like learn what they did and film it in like a appropriate setting for a school kind of thing.
Okay.
So mine was Dennis Rader, I still don't know how to pronounce his last name. He was the BTK killer.
Okay.
He would bind them, torture them, kill them. That was his MO. And just, I remember filming it. I had to play a dead body. It was great. It just, so that, then I wanted to do psychology, and then I got kicked out, and then social work, and then horror movies becoming a thing that I love. I'm like, why do they do the things that they do? You know? John Kramer, for example. Crazy. Man's had cancer. His wife was pregnant and lost the baby. Everything in the Saw franchise all leads and stems from John Kramer's trauma, and hence why he does the things that he do. Even though, yeah, it's torture porn, but it's psychological torture porn.
Well, I was going to say, it's interesting that you look at that as psychological, because I feel like most people would associate that with torture porn. Like, it came out around the same time Hostel did. It was very graphic for the time. I don't think so much anymore. I think we've gone to a scale now where, like, what was offensively graphic and like, oh my God, that's so gross back then, is now like, oh, well, I guess we could have gotten worse. We did.
Yeah.
Shout out Terrifier.
But, oh, they're not even good movies, bro. Like, I've watched the first 2.
I'm waiting for 3 to hit streaming where I don't have to pay for it, but I've watched the first 2 as well. My favorite horror subgenre is slashers, which Terrifier would fall into, though that is also not my cup of tea. Like, we don't yuck any yums here, I guess, or knock anybody unless you really like Barricade. But to each their own. I've talked about my distaste for the phrasing of elevated horror more so than the films, but also some of the films. But like, if that's what you like that's what you like, and that's the beautiful thing about horror. Is there are so many subgenres and so many things that you can get into and enjoy about the horror space that it's for everyone. It's not like something that should be or really can be gate kept, because there's so much out there for everyone. There's no one right answer to this question, but for me, it is slashers, and that doesn't mean all slashers. Like I said, Terrifier is not up there on my list, but I grew up on, your Jasons, your Michael Myers, your Freddys, Candyman, things like that. So growing up with those influences in my life, which are all fucking around me. I mean, directly in front of me is a shrine to Jason. Behind me is
Camp Crystal Lake,
Michael Myers and Freddy, and yeah, you got the Welcome to Crystal Lake with the Jason mask back there, and Pinhead's over here. Like, it's all over the place. Like, I love slashers, but I also love religious horror, which is great because Pinhead kind of falls into both in a way.
Yeah.
You get both aspects of religion and slasher movies in that, and that's why Hell on Earth is my favorite Hellraiser movie.
Because that's the Jesus scene, right?
Yeah, where he's in the church and shatters the stained glass. And
listen, that was fucking cool.
It really was.
And like, I don't fuck with religious horror that much. There are a few religious horror movies I've watched, and I'm like, you know what? This is actually like really good. One of them's Right, like Rite. Anthony Hopkins is in that movie, actually. The Right, yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? You've seen it.
Yeah.
Colin O'Donoghue, love him. It's Captain Hook from Once Upon a Time, in case anybody was wondering. It's just a good movie. I've watched it like 3 times.
Well, so back to psychological horror. You had already seen Silence of the Lambs, but you just recently watched with us for the first time Red Dragon, and the entirety of, the Silence of the Lambs franchise. Trilogy. Sorry, I can hear the baby, either the baby or Zoe crying upstairs. Kate's got it. We already talked about it, but like, I heard it, and dad mode kicked in. Like, oh, shit.
Fight or flight kicked in. You were ready to.
But yeah, no. So you saw that. You loved Red Dragon.
Listen, Red Dragon was a phenomenal movie. Hannibal was.
You don't like Julianne in
I
horror,
I don't. She's not good. I don't know.
which is because we also watched Six Souls, which would fall under psychological.
Yeah, psychological, and I don't know what else I consider Six Souls, but like Six Souls was an interesting ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait till I get you to watch Identity.
Have we talked about that?
I think so.
I don't remember. You tell me to watch a lot of things.
And listen, I have rarely let you down. Some of the stuff is like, in my opinion, required watching, which is why we've gone through it. You know, it's the classics for the most part, the Pet Cemeteries, Stephen King stuff like Children of the Corn, stuff like that. But then I'll throw you shit, and you'll be like, I don't know about this, and you come out and be like, oh shit, that was really fun, like Night of the Demons 2, which we talk about all the time.
Which is in my top 5 movies of Matt made shit made fuck Jesus Christ.
Shit,
I don't know what's going on.
Ass. Shit Matt made Katie watch.
Oh god, I don't know why it's so hard for me to say that.
I don't either. It's really fun for me to say. It's my favorite thing.
I know. Okay, we're talking too much about things you like. What's your biggest turn off? No. Let me do this.
Okay.
I got this. What's your biggest turn off in horror movies?
I already kind of mentioned it. It is the phrasing elevated horror, the idea that there is a subgenre of horror movies that are superior to all horror, and the people that enjoy these movies and don't enjoy other horror movies are somehow better than horror fans, or that you are more intellectually inclined for enjoying these movies than you would be any other thing in the horror genre itself. I don't like the elitism of the phrasing and the idea behind it. That is my biggest turnoff, and it has turned me off to a lot of elevated horror movies. I mean, I might not have also liked them just from watching them. I've talked about It Follows, not really for me. But I don't like gatekeeping. I don't like finding ways to be like, because we're wrestling fans, right? So we know the toxicity in the IWC, the internet wrestling community, and like the elitism of like, oh, well, I watched this wrestling and my wrestling is better than your wrestling, instead of just enjoying fucking everything. And it's the same thing with horror. Like, there shouldn't be a, oh, well, this is the subgenre that I like, and because I like the subgenre, it means that it's better than what you like, and I'm better than you, and I'm a smarter, better horror fan because of it. Like, no, horror is horror. You can like some stuff, you might not like some stuff. You know, not creature features aren't for. I'm not into universal horror, like the old school shit. Like, it's not really for me. I have friends who love that shit and think it's the greatest shit of all time. Like, and we still get along and find common ground to talk about.
Good, as you should, because horror is for everybody. Unless you're an asshole, then no. Biggest turn off for me? It's body horror.
I just watched The Substance, so I'm here.
See, and that sucks because like I want to watch The Substance, but I know like I'm gonna feel uncomfy watching it the entire time, because especially anything with like eyes. One of my biggest fears is going blind. So like anything that like in Would You Rather with Brittany Snow, and he's like takes his eye out. Oh god. It's the worst. It's the worst thing in the world. And like that's why I didn't want to watch Saw for the longest time, because I was like, oh, they're cutting off body. Oh, they're doing limbs and shit. No, thank you. I can't do it. I've gotten better over the years, but like I still keep my distance.
So hear me out, my bisexual bestie.
Okay.
Hear me out.
I'm hearing you out.
Yes, I get that, and I really don't think it's that bad. And once we get to Hostel, we'll see like how you handle that, and then I can kind of be like, all right, well, if this was too much for you, and you're like, even though I don't think it will be, then yeah, definitely stay away from The Substance, because there is a lot of gross out shit in there. But also, it's Demi Moore and
Margaret Qualley.
Yeah, naked 75% of the movie, full frontal, front, back. There are some very like, I'm pretty sure my wife was telling me like she told her parents they cannot go watch this movie because there are like some uncomfortably close like crotch shots, not bare crotch, but like while she's doing like her workout stuff, where they're just like
Oh yeah,
right up in there. That even I was like, that's a bit much. That's
that's too close. Okay.
I haven't seen one that close other than my wife's in over 10 years. So like shoving it in my face like that's a little off putting.
Well, culture shock there. Yeah, like I think that's the thing. Like, I'm very happy that The Substance did well in like award season. Like horror movies typically don't get nominated for like anything, so the fact that Substance won quite a bit, I was like, hell yeah, horror movies. Ooh, ooh. But I was like, oh, it is body horror stuff. Fuck, I don't want to watch this. You know, you get it. You
No, I
know.
get it. I get it. I've been waiting to ask you this question for a while. Since we came up with this concept, which was really only like a week and a half ago. But it was one of like the
Literally so
first
recently.
questions I came
Okay.
up with based off of the questions that you ask on your show. You ask people if they could write their own autobiography, what would the title be? And my version of that was if you could star or direct a film in any horror franchise, what would it be?
Okay. So, directing is hard. Because, like, how do you go about that? You know? Unless you are going to pursue that as a profession, it's very hard to think how you would. I mean, there are some things you're like, oh, I definitely would have shot it this way. Like, that angle's weird, blah, 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 blah. I've never thought about directing. I have thought about writing. Shocker, I know. I
We could
have
go with writing if you want.
well, I mean, I was gonna say like I've attempted to write something horror related a few times. I have a quarter of a horror movie script that I started writing in college, and it's subpar at best. Writing scripts is hard because you have to do like stage directions. It's convoluted and annoying. But starring, now every single horror movie is just out the window. I think it'd be fun to be like a Lorraine Warren, like in The Conjuring,
Okay.
because like she's badass, right? She's strong. She's independent and like has to save Ed ass all the time. And because like the new movie's coming out this year, and I'm very excited. But also like Vera Farmiga is an incredible actress, and if I were pursuing that, that's someone I aspire to be. Because she's also a good scream queen, and like I feel if it came to it, I could have a good horror movie scream. I'm not gonna test it now, but like I feel like I could do that. You know?
Okay.
I think. I don't know. I think it'd be fun.
You want to give us an example here, real quick?
of
Scare the
of a
shit
horror
out of
movie?
scare the shit
Oh.
out of the people in your house. Just scream really loud. See if they break in to check on you.
10:30 at night. No.
Uh,
No. No. But it's just I don't know. It's one of those things where I mean, I've thought about it on a few occasions of like, what if I could be in a horror movie? Whether it's my own or an actual one. Like that'd be so cool to pursue that. I want to be an actor. Hell yeah. But like I'm gonna no thanks. It's too much time.
so something in the Conjuring franchise giving you a role, kind of like Lorraine Warren. I
Yeah.
mean, her sister Thaisa in The Nun.
Yeah, Tasia's in the and I still
Is
think
it
that's
Tasia?
fucking cool too. That they're yeah, Tasia.
Weird names.
I know. But like the fact that they're sisters and they're both in the same franchise. Oh, I hope that they get to interact in this fucking movie. I swear to God they better. I'm
I
gonna be
feel
so
like
mad.
you'd have to do time travel for that
We can make it work.
because I feel like we've like
No,
loosely.
not necessarily. Not necessarily because the nun. I mean, in like movie, we would have to go back in time and like de-age the actors a little bit. But like the nun stuff happening was right before, like kind of right before the first Conjuring movie. Like it all leads into it.
Yeah, no, I know that in the first Conjuring movie, they sit down with the farmer and they're showing the video of him being exercised and all of that, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. So, like, but Tasia is so much younger than her sister that I don't know how we'd make that work.
It's movie magic, baby. We can make anything work.
Okay.
Well, I'll take one of the questions that I ask people on my show, except we horrorized it, of course. So if you could sit down with any 3 horror movie characters, it doesn't have to be killers, doesn't have to be anybody, it can be anyone in the franchises. What 3 horror movie characters are you picking to sit down and have a chat with?
Characters, not actors.
Characters, not actors. Yes.
Okay, so most of the slashers are out just because, like,
They don't
Jason
talk.
and Michael Myers would be an awkward sit down conversation. Hannibal Lecter,
Mm.
I'd also let him prepare the meal.
As you should.
uh, I enjoy witty banter. The whole everything between him and Clarice, and you know, throughout the franchise, just the way he handles and toys with people, is so fucking fun.
Hello, Clarice. It's my favorite thing to just do all the time. I know it's hard. It's a hard question.
Laurie Strode. She is the final girl from my favorite franchise. She has faced my favorite killer of all time on multiple occasions, been through the ringer in 3 different timelines. I would probably pick the original timeline, Laurie Strode, but she's technically dead in that timeline, so technically. And number three to sit down and talk to. Oh, easy. So fucking easy. My wife would hate it and kill me. Tiffany fucking Valentine.
I
Please
knew you
put
were going
me,
to say Tiffany Valentine.
please put me at a table with Tiffany Valentine. Not in doll form.
Oh, well, that's
Actual
not fun.
Tiffany. No, actual Tiffany. Post, when she came back.
Looking snatched. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah.
That's a good table for 3. I feel like Tiffany would just be flirting with Hannibal the whole time.
Which I'm okay with. I wouldn't get jealous. I'd be fine.
They're flirting and you're just like, so, Lori, what's up?
To be honest with you, I think Hannibal would be more interested in talking to Lori than me or Tiffany.
Because all the shit she's been through.
Yeah, just like psychologically dissecting her. Tiffany would be upset because she's not getting attention, and I'd just be enjoying the whole thing.
Just be sitting there, popcorn in hand,
eating brains that were prepared by Dr. Lecter. Maybe a liver.
Perhaps fava beans.
Nice Chianti.
The whole shebang.
Do you have a 3 that you'd want to sit down with?
It is hard to like separate actor from character because like I fucking love
my actor answer is different. So yeah.
Yeah, I know, because like Patrick Wilson is one of my favorite people ever, and he's in so many different horror things. But like, do I really want to sit down with Ed Warren? I mean, actually, yes, but like,
yeah, no, why not?
So yeah, okay, Ed Warren's one, and I can just look at Patrick Wilson. Win-win. Talk about Woody Banner. Freddy Krueger. I think Freddy would be hysterical. Just to see what he says. Just like, what shit you coming up with, bud? Let's talk. A third one. The third one usually is the hardest one to pick.
I thought the person that I thought you'd want to sit down with, you haven't said yet, so I'm surprised.
Oh God. Hmm. I don't know who you think I'm gonna pick.
Well, make your third pick, and then I'll tell you if
Fuck.
you. This isn't like, I mean, you don't have to get it right. It just be like, I
No,
really thought you would have gone with this.
everything's on the line. There's money involved. It's a whole thing. Who do I think would be like a good conversation? I want to be a girl. I'm gonna go Sam from Scream 5 and 6. Melissa Barrera.
Okay. So you were close. I really thought you were going to say Stu Macher.
I
really thought
wanted
Stu would be good.
to. I wanted to. So I was like, I can't just because it's him. Like, I've met him and I've had a conversation with him in real life. So like,
And the character of Stu might be a little annoying to sit down and have dinner with.
my
Since we're
mom's
talking
gonna be
character.
so mad. Like he's just in there crying and like I can't handle that. I'm emotional enough, Stu. I can't have both of us here. But yeah, like you're talking about people who've been through some shit. Like your dad was the original Ghostface. One of the original Ghostfaces.
What is the first horror movie you remember watching, Katie?
Okay, so we talked about it recently-ish. I honestly don't remember how long ago that was. When did we do our panel? Like 2 weeks ago? Is that how this works? 2 weeks?
Well, it was longer than that. 2 weeks
was
ago
like
was the
3
Katie
weeks.
Horror Showcase. It was so at least about a month ago.
Oh my god, it was. Oh, we talked about Idle Hands. Jesus,
Yeah.
time's not real.
You didn't even pick a Devon Sawa character. You could have gone with anybody.
No, but like his character in Idle Hands does no. And
Final Destination.
Alex Browning's kind of a weirdo to talk to. So like, and then you have Claire, and oh, it's a whole thing. We're not even getting into that because like I would just make fun of her name the whole time, and it would be bad. She'd punch me, it'd be terrible. But on the panel episode we talked about it was found footage stuff. The first horror movie I distinctly remember watching is The Blair Witch Project. And my sister sucks because she's seen it already. I saw a little bit of it before I like fully sat down and watched it because like all the cousins and like the neighborhood kids were at my aunt's house and all of the older like kids were in the basement watching the movie. So, you know, me and the younger kids came down and we're like, hey, what are you guys watching? And they're like, you need to leave. You can't watch this. And we're like, okay, well, whatever. Cut to like a year or two later, my sister and I, we had bunk beds. So she was on the top bunk, I was on the bottom bunk. We were watching it. And it gets to the end. I'm like, you know, scared every once in a while. Like I hide a little bit under the blanket, do the blanket thing. And gets to the end where Michael's just like in the corner, facing the corner. And I still don't like that shit to this day. People standing in the corner freaks me out. My friend Mason does it to me all the time. And I'm like, you're a piece of shit. So that happened. And then like Heather drops the camera and she screams and the movie ends. So that I like shoot up out of bed. I look up. My sister's sleeping. She's a monster. And I run down 2 flights of steps to my mom crying. She was in the basement doing laundry and I was like freaking out. So yeah, that's what I first remember. Yay. Fun times.
I feel like a lot of horror fans' first memory is a traumatic one from a horror movie. I don't think a lot of people who are really big into horror like started out with, oh my god, I watched this horror movie and I absolutely loved it. I feel like a lot of us were introduced to it very young and were terrified by it and then grew to appreciate it as we got older.
Oh yeah. Like now, like I'll go see that shit in theaters and enjoy myself. But back then, no thank you. No thank you.
Well, I mean, it was the same thing for me. We've talked about me and my mom having me watch horror movies from a young age. You know, going to the video store Friday nights and renting VHSs and walking down the horror aisle and being introduced to all of the early slashers and different things that my mom loved from an age where I was terrified of them. And I've told stories on your podcasts about some of the ways that my mom enjoyed scaring me, but it wasn't until like my teenage years, like I said, that I really started loving horror and really started diving into it as my own enjoyment. Like I always had horror movies because my mom really enjoyed them, which is weird because now that she's gotten older, she doesn't really like anything anymore.
Yeah.
But I fucking love it. And now she looks at me and she's like, I didn't know that I was gonna end up with a kid who was covered in horror movie tattoos. And I'm like, you did this. You started this. Like, you covered
You
my eyes
created
for all
this
the sex
monster.
and the scary stuff, but other than that, you liked watching me get scared, and now I fucking love it. And I talk about it bi-weekly. So it's really hard for me to think of like the first movie I remember because I was so young. I know
Yeah.
I want to say it was probably Halloween. But
More than likely, yeah.
I remember just like the Halloween movie marathons coming on Halloween and them sitting down and watching it. My mom even used to like the old school like Abbott and Costello, Meet the Mummy, Meet Frankenstein. So I watched those in black and white. I actually have a couple of those
Nice.
still. Um, Stephen King's It, which was 1991. I would have been 4, so around then, also a very early contender. I remember Children of the Corn. There were a lot of stuff that I watched really, really young, and I can't pinpoint the first one because I was
Mhm.
so.
I mean, it is hard. Like I have early memories of it too, but like I couldn't tell you if it was before Blair Witch. Blair Witch had more of an impact on me, so I'm always just gonna credit that to being the first one. So it might be cheating, but whatever.
I do remember the first horror movie that I went to go see in theaters, like without. It was Halloween H2O. Was the first
Of
horror
course,
movie that
it's
I
fucking Halloween.
actively was like, I'm going to go with some friends and go see a scary movie. And I did. It was my buddy Paul and his older sister who I had a crush on, and she wanted to go. And I was like, I'm in.
You said, "Oh, she wants to go see this movie. Hey, I also want to go see this movie. Let's go."
So bad. So want to see this movie. And
I
it's
was like, "Oh my god, this movie! I can't wait to go see this movie. It's so
maybe
good."
my least favorite in the franchise at this point, or very close to it.
H2O is a chore.
It can be, and some people love it, and we don't yuck yums. Like if H2O is your deal, H2O is your deal. It's the closest thing to a PG-13 Halloween movie, in my opinion. There's some cool stuff about it, but the mask is trash.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much more in the realm of a toned down Scream with the cast of Dawson's Creek, well, at least one of the cast of Dawson's Creek, and that more of a teen horror flick than it is a Halloween movie, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he was stalking teenagers.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was different.
It was a different time.
It really was. It was like
It really
20
fucking
years
was.
prior. 2 decades. A lot changes in 20 years. Trust me.
Oh yeah. Is it my turn or is it your turn?
I asked you what your first favorite horror movie or the first horror movie you remember watching was.
Okay. I mean, I did kind of throw it back at you, but I didn't like ask it as a formal question. So, all right. I'll ask you if you could star or direct or write or whatever any film in any horror movie franchise, what movie are you picking?
Uh, it would be an Evil Dead. Mostly because that is the easiest way to kick off my joint horror universe that we did an entire episode on, me talking about. It all
Mm-hmm.
centers around Evil Dead's Necronomicon. So if I can start there, then I can spin off into connecting every single slasher to the Necronomicon and kick off an entire joint horror universe. I'd probably prefer to direct rather than star. Um,
Okay.
I've dabbled in some writing as well, as we kind of talked about, and not just like this thing or like the couple of ideas I've had for a joint slasher verse, but like even dabbled in writing my own slasher that was religious based.
Of course.
You know, beat down by his Bible Belt dad, and it was the whole thing.
Jesus.
Anyway, so yeah, no, I think I prefer to direct. I'd like to sit behind the camera because I would have a vision for the film and I
Mm-hmm.
want it to play out because you write a horror film and a company buys it and they get a director and then the director takes it and does his vision of it. Whereas I want this to be my vision. So I want to guide where it goes and make sure everyone who sits down to go see it sees it the way that I want them to see it.
Yep. I get that.
So,
And,
yeah, no, it'd definitely be in Evil Dead.
Yeah. Didn't we say we were gonna, like, something else was gonna get added to that slasherverse? But I don't remember what we said. It was something recently-ish we talked about.
Idle Hands?
Was it Idle Hands?
Pretty sure it was
I
Idle
remember.
Hands.
I think it was. Yeah. I just remember it was something recent we were talking about, and you were like, oh, hey, I can add this to the horror verse, the slasher verse. I mean, it works. So,
all because of the Necronomicon. Thank you for the Necronomicon.
God
Makes
bless
everything work.
the Necronomicon.
So I know that horror movies aren't your only interest. What are some of your other horror interests?
So I'm a gamer girly as well. I know, crazy. Until Dawn is technically considered a horror game. I mean, they're making it a movie, and it's nothing like the video game, and that still pisses me off to this day. That's neither here nor there. But that's a very fun game, and it's also a butterfly effect game, which are very fun to play. One choice you make literally impacts the rest of the game. But I've played that. Outlast, which is terrifying, especially if you play it in the dark. I played like the Slender Man games when I was in middle school.
Of course you did.
Gotta collect those pages, man. You gotta get those pages. But I also have read some horror books. One actually back there somewhere. It's called Horror Movie. It's the way it's written is very cool. It's about a horror movie that was made by like some teenagers, and then like things go horribly wrong with it, and then the one person who like survived it comes back because they're trying to remake it, and it's very fucked up, but like so good. So it's not just shows, it's not just like things I can watch, it's things I can play and things I can read, and I can't really say like music because like
you can, see, I disagree because
okay,
anything with a horror reference in it pops me, right? So like
okay,
Eminem, even on some of his albums that people aren't too fond of, he'll reference Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees. Every time I hear horror in a song referenced in whether it's a rap lyric or a rock and roll or whatever heavy metal song, or there are a lot that have like Twista has a song called Heartbeat that has the Jason in it. Tech Nine has a song called Psycho Bitch where a techno version of the Halloween song plays in the background. So there are definitely horror tie-ins to a lot of things. I used to take quotes from a bunch of different movies, not just horror movies, and place them strategically in mixed CDs that I would burn as lead-ins to songs that I thought like they fit well with the song. So when I'd listen to the mixed CD, you'd have like a little quote and then the song would start. And I did that for a bunch of them. So I think horror and music, and obviously what Jalen did with our fucking intro, mix really, really well. And the soundtracks. I mean, I actually think I have a vinyl record soundtrack from a horror movie sitting over there by Kate's record player.
Okay. I mean, I would love to get like a vinyl of like specifically like Halloween, like OG Halloween. That'd be really fun. But I mean, I need to go to a record store period because I need more records. But I mean, there's specifically Scream 6. There's two songs that I have on my playlist. It's Still Alive by Demi Lovato because it's a banger, and it's In My Head by Mike Shinoda. Even though he's a traitor and continued looking part without Chester, it's fine. I'm not bitter at all. But they're so good. But then you realize, oh, they're part of like the Scream 6 soundtrack, and it's incredible. So there aren't many, but like there are a few.
I mean, my favorite singer, Jonathan Davis, did all of the vocals for Queen of the Damned. And then the soundtrack for Queen of the Damned was filled with Linkin Park, I think Marilyn Manson, Korn, all of those early 2000s rock, rap artists.
Yeah.
So
I
new
mean,
metal.
and like Rob Zombie has good music.
That is a big crossover between music and horror.
Yeah.
I also like books. You talked about that. The joke is that I don't read. I do read things, just
It's my
not a
favorite
lot of
joke.
things. I've read some Stephen King stuff. I have some stuff I still have to get through, but I do enjoy reading, especially if it's something that like one of my. I mean, obviously the writing, which I've sent you, the preliminary outlines of shit that I've been working on for a long time.
Mhm.
But like if my friends come out and they write something based on horror or whatever, when we originally started doing some stuff with groups on Facebook, there was a horror group, and Kate would write synopsises of horror movies. I think she only did a couple, but one of them was an American Haunting or a Haunting in America, something like that. I think it's an American Haunting. Um, but so like stuff my friends write, those kind of books. Also, anything like behind the scenes, I have a book about basically the entire Halloween franchise where I learned a lot about why John Carpenter decided to do what he did with Laurie and Michael as brother and sister in Halloween 2, and like some cool shit about that. So like I like reading the behind the scenes shit, watching documentaries. Not so much
Mhm.
horror gaming. I don't like playing a character who has a flashlight or whatever and runs around in the dark and has to try not to die. Um,
I know.
I kind of like the Friday the 13th game, but unless you have a group of dedicated friends who are going to be playing it after you've done the things, then it's kind of okay. I've done all the things. It's old, you
Yeah,
know.
it's like FNAF.
Yeah. Um, we talked about. I mean, but like I said, anything really because even in wrestling, we've seen horror crossovers. We've seen Tom Savini work with the Fiend and stuff like that. So I pop big for all of that stuff. Anything horror adjacent in other spaces, I really enjoy and kind of get into as well. So
Yeah, yeah. Because it's cool seeing it outside of its normal medium, which is
yep.
horror movies. So, what else do I have on there? So, like, what do you love most about horror movies?
I mean, the go to answer is boobs and
Titties.
kills. Are the two things that I love most about horror. But I love the feeling that horror gives you when you watch it. I like the adrenaline rush. The sad part about being a horror fan is the more horror movies you watch, the more desensitized you become to it, and the harder it is to get that fix, that feeling, to find that movie that really kind of gives you the rush and makes you uncomfortable. That when you go and you turn the lights off before you go to bed, you have to double check to make sure that you don't see something moving in the dark
Uh-huh.
outside of your bedroom that doesn't creep you out,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you see so much of it and you get so used to it that it doesn't have that effect. And it's one of those things where you see people my age, even your age, who are like, horror isn't scary anymore. And it's like, no, it's not that horror isn't scary anymore. It's that you just fucking desensitized and you got too old. And what used to
Yep.
scare you doesn't scare you anymore because you enjoy it on a different level now. But that's the other cool thing that I love about horror is that it goes from being this thing that terrifies you, that keeps you up at night, that has you looking under your bed or in your closet or out the door for the shadows and things like that, to becoming, as we said, comfort. These movies that you watch over and over and over again, and you know every line to and every kill, and you get excited when it's coming up, and you can have drinking games and eat popcorn and do trivia because you love this stuff so much.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
What about you?
Hold on. It's kind of the same thing. Like, it's like the initial anxiety of watching like something scary. Key example is like Paranormal Activity. Like, as the movie goes on, it gets worse. By the time you're in that last 10 minutes of the movie, and Katie's getting dragged out of bed, and she's like, Mega! Like, screaming at the top of her lungs, and, like, that alone, like, gives you, like, that pit in your chest. Or at least it does for me. Like, hearing it. It's like the blood-curdling scream. And just, like, sits right here. And then silence thrown at a camera. And you're like, it's a jump scare. Then you, like, get ready to hit somebody. Because you're just like, what the fuck? It's like that feeling. I would, equate it to adrenaline for sure, but it's just I don't know, and like the storytelling of some horror movies as well.
We are lore whores.
We are lore whores. This is true. I mean, Insidious does, like, the first two movies do a really good job of that. After the second one, I said the first two.
No, I'm agreeing with you because the way that 2 goes back and shows you what was happening in 1 is such a cool, like, shout out to fucking James Wan. I love James Wan and a lot of the shit he does. I know he gets shit for making blockbuster horror movies and everything, but he does some really cool shit.
And they're not movies, they're series, but the Flanaganiverse does a phenomenal job of creating these worlds, these stories that you get to watch, and it's things in the background that I love. Like, Haunting of Hill House was the first one where, like, I noticed that he does it a lot, and same with, like, the Insidious and Conjuring. It's just watching stuff in the background and seeing. It's like, oh my god, there's a person. They don't see it. Something's gonna happen, and then it's the boom, 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 boom. Like, you wait for them to interact with it, and it's so cool. I'm also changing my answer. I want to star in anything Mike Flanagan. I forgot because they're not movies, but it's a franchise, so I'm counting it.
He has done movies. He's done Hush,
which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Is Hush.
Yeah.
So
no, there's another one that I was writing questions for trivia and I was looking up Final Girls and stuff, and I saw something and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot Mike Flanagan did this movie. And it's gonna drive me crazy.
I don't know what, but I know he's in talks to do something else soon, but I don't remember what it is off the top of my head either. Damn it.
Hold on.
He's phenomenal. I want to be like him. Be married to Kate Siegel. Have a great time. Direct these amazing shows on Netflix.
He did Dr. Sleep.
Yeah. Ewan McGregor.
Gerald's Game, which was a movie.
Yeah.
Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Which I do love more than the original Ouija.
Oculus. That's what it was. Because remember, we watched Oculus, and it was a WWE horror film, and I was like, I did not know that was a Mike Flanagan movie.
Flanaganiverse, baby. That shit's everywhere. That's not what I want to cover when we do the Flanaganiverse, but yes.
What?
No, it's going to be the shows. Damn it.
Well, let me ask you this question. What was the last horror movie you watched that actually scared you? And while you tell me and everyone else, I will be listening and probably yelling at you from the other room, but I will be right back.
Okay. That's fine. Last one that actually scared me. Oh man, that's hard. Because, like, I saw Abigail last year, but that didn't really scare me. That was more just, like, fun. I think, and Matt's gonna appreciate this answer, I think it's gonna be Late Night with the Devil, because the way that was shot and the way that it just, everything felt so real, and the special effects on that movie were so good. And like, it genuinely, like, had me, like, on edge the entire time, like, hair standing up. We all watched it together. It's like, Matt can attest to this. He watched my face multiple times being terrified. But I think it has to be Late Night with the Devil.
And you're going to appreciate my answer, because my answer, when I think of scared, it's like I said, it's what's the last movie that I watched where I turned that movie off and I felt uneasy in my own home, in my comfort space. And that was Hell House LLC, because I watched it, I don't know, a year and a half ago.
Was that the first time you watched it?
I think I had seen it before, or at least started. I don't know if I'd watched it all the way through.
Okay.
But I remember watching it, and I remember the fucking clown and everything. I think I was living in Elgin, and I remember going upstairs and laying in my bed and being like, Matt, you're a grown ass man. You can handle anything. Nobody, but then also like looking out into the hallway and like seeing shadows moving and being like, oh, fuck. I'm not comfortable. I feel like there's something in my house. Then I hear something. I go downstairs with a baseball bat to check around the house.
Typical dad fashion, yeah.
So I honestly say I think it was Hell House LLC was the last thing that like I watched and I really scared me. I know Kate, it was Annabelle Comes Home. She could not finish that movie.
Really?
Yeah, no, I don't know what it is about that movie, but it creeped her the fuck out and she wanted nothing to do with it.
Is it because it's like a bunch of different like
I
things?
don't know how far she even got into it. I just know. Well, so
it's the babysitter, just in general. It's her friend.
I used to fuck with her with Lights Out. We watched Lights Out, and I used to like stand in the hallway in our house, in our last house, and I'd like talk up the stairs to nothing while she was in the living room. And we knew that we had like something in that house that we'd constantly see out of the corner of our eye, always in the kitchen. And it was like our driveway was so far back and the kitchen was so far back. And there was a house so close that we knew like it wasn't car lights coming through, but like we would always see something moving in that kitchen in our peripheral from the living room. And then I just talked to nothing up the stairs and it would freak her out and she hated that. So that might be part of that. But yeah, no, the last movie I remember where I'm like, oh, let's watch this. And she's like, yeah, no, I can't do this. And she wanted nothing to do with it was Annabelle Comes Home.
Huh. Yeah, that's a very interesting choice. Hell House LLC, I 100% agree. Because it's one of those movies, and we talked about this, I genuinely thought it was real. Based on how
That's what
everything
makes it
was
scary.
Exactly. Because I'm just like, it's like you're just you don't know what to do. Same thing with First Paranormal Activity. I was like, oh shit. And anyone who has my name, I can't. So I think I don't like people being named Katie in horror movies and then they die.
I will say this: Paranormal Activity 4 did a thing with a fucking Xbox Connect, and I used to have an Xbox Connect, and that freaked me the fuck out. I was like, no, don't like that.
That one was very much like webcam based and stuff, which was, I mean, made sense for the time that they made it. But yeah, no, I distinctly remember that too. Man, fuck the Connect. That thing never worked anyways.
It worked for me. I loved it.
I tried to love it.
I loved that I could give it voice commands, that I could sit on my couch and I could be like, hey, Xbox, and it would just do what the fuck I told it to. When they got rid of the Connect and they didn't offer it for, I want to say the Xbox One, I was pissed. I was pissed.
So mad. You're pissed. So upset.
What else you got for me, kid?
I mean, this is, it can kind of fall in the same category, but it is different. A recent horror movie that you liked.
Well, it wasn't Nosferatu, I'll tell you that. That was specifically for Reek.
He's so mad at you.
I mean, we've talked about Late Night with the Devil, which we both really enjoyed. I liked The Substance. Werewolves recently, very recently.
Oh yeah, you told me, which is so sad because we were like, yeah, Frank Grillo. We were so excited.
It did not live up to the hype.
Damn.
And then like I liked Abigail. Abigail was fun, but like I'd say probably Late Night with the Devil is the one that I liked the most. And I really, honestly, don't know why. Like that one, I think it was because I had such lowered expectations going into it. Like I was like, okay, this kind of looks cool, but like I didn't really expect much out of it, and it kicked me in the fucking face.
It really.
And I was like, oh shit, this is actually really fucking cool. Like I enjoyed the shit out of this, and I watch a lot. Like you said, I do watch a lot of horror movies. I watch a lot of shit. I try and last night when I was talking about I don't know, The Cell maybe, Afraid, which is an AI movie with Harold from Harold and Kumar.
It's like a recent movie, right?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay. I've seen the trailer for it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So I watched that with like this crazy AI in the house, which wasn't really scary, but like I watch just if there's something horror and I haven't seen it, I'm like, all right, let me check this out, and I'll watch it. And but yeah, no, the one that I probably enjoyed the most recently was definitely Lady of the Devil.
It's a really good fucking movie. I can't blame you at all.
What about you?
Mine.
Lady of the Devil.
No, I do love that movie. I mean, I really enjoyed Abigail, just because it was fun and she's a little vampire ballerina, which is so funny, and like she did great. I liked Nosferatu because it was just like the way it was shot was so beautiful and it was like beautifully haunting. And one that everyone hated but me, I enjoyed Longlegs. Literally
I know you did.
everybody else hated it. I had a great time. I saw it twice. Not in theaters, but like, I watched it twice.
I
No,
mean, well, you
I
talked
watched it
about
great
like
time.
how you enjoy psychological horror, and it was like you had everything against you going into me enjoying that movie. You had Nicolas Cage. You had no real explanation for why the fuck he was the way he was, which
Satan.
was going to bother me. And the chick from It Follows starring in the movie.
Hey, Micah Monroe did really good in this movie.
I felt like she was doing a poor impersonation of Jodie Foster in
She did
Silence of the Lambs. She did a better job than Jodie Foster?
No, not than Jodie Foster, than Julianne
Okay.
Moore.
Well, yeah, but it felt like a poor knockoff of Clarice Starling, in my opinion.
How fucking dare you? No, Longlegs was really cool. The way it was shot. Nicolas Cage looked absolutely fucking crazy. The initial shot of just seeing like his face, like just took me aback because I saw that in theaters. I distinctly remember some lady literally screaming and jumping at one point in the movie because like the movie's been out long enough. I'm not spoiling shit anymore. I don't care. When I forget her character's name, but when Micah's mom like is like the nun, she shows up behind the FBI agent with a gun in her hand. Some lady full on screams like 2 rows behind me, and I start laughing because like I don't expect her to start screaming.
Been there.
But it's like, and that's another thing with like there's stuff hidden throughout the movie. Like there's a actual devil and like Satan shown like I think 20 times in just the background of stuff in the movie. Very fun. Osgood Perkins. He also just did The Monkey. I haven't seen yet. I've heard really good things about it. But I'm also scared because I know I saw something about body horror and I was like, damn it. Can we just steer away from that for like a day, please, people?
Or you just give it a try, and you know, if it's not for you, it's not for you. You know.
I mean, I'll give it a shot.
Oh,
oh,
The Heretic. I watched that recently, and I really enjoyed that. And that was after Lady of the Devil. I enjoyed the shit out of The Heretic.
The Heretic. I think it's just Heretic.
No, it's The Heretic. That's what we're calling
Heretic.
The Heretic movie. No, I really enjoyed that. That was fun.
I wanted to see that and I still haven't. I'm slacking.
Poor Mormons.
I'm trying. Did you say poor Mormons?
Yes, poor Mormons.
I mean, it's true.
One of the most hotly contested debates, especially among slasher fans, because it's mostly slasher movies that they do this too, is whether horror remakes are good or if they suck. We don't do good or bad here. We do spit or swallow. So, Katie, horror remakes, spit or swallow?
Well, it depends on the horror remake. So I'll say, as a general rule, gargle. But like, there are some good ones. Evil Dead 2013 is a very good remake, especially because I hate the first 3 Evil Dead movies. And I've said that on record multiple times. But then you have like ones that they're like, they're kind of weird. Like the Nightmare on Elm Street from, what was that, 2010?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just like, it's good, but it's not good, and like it's not Robert Englund, so then you're like kind of turned off by it. But then you have Friday the 13th from 20. Is that also 2013? Shit. When was that from?
A year before Nightmare on Elm Street.
Man. I was like,
I was wondering how you were gonna do 2009.
2009. I'm not good with years with movies sometimes, but like that remake is really, really good. And like they throw the curveball at you that like you think all three of them are gonna survive, and haha, just kidding, stab through the chest. I was like, that's disrespectful. Danielle Panabaker are so much better. So it really just depends on the movie, I think. So it'll be a gargle. What about you?
I look at it differently.
Okay.
I give horror movie remakes a swallow. Not saying that all horror movie remakes are good. I have expressed my distaste for Pet Cemetery,
Mm-hmm.
on the remake for Pet Cemetery here, and Poltergeist as well.
Mm.
There are bad horror movie remakes out there, but I swallow the idea of horror movie remakes, and the reason for that is, I talked about how Universal horror isn't for me. It was before my time. It was not something that my mom was like really into. Like, I saw the Abbott and Costello stuff that was a little more funny shit. You know, it
Yeah.
wasn't like. So you're taking some, because you can't, realistically, you cannot expect kids who grew up nowadays or in an age of technology to go back and watch movies like Halloween and be like, oh my God, this is so relatable and so good, because they have no idea what life was like back then, and everything seems
Mm-hmm.
so weird and outdated, and it doesn't work for them. So taking these movies and updating them for an audience who doesn't have those same experiences. A lot of people don't like that. They don't want their stuff messed with, but it doesn't mess with your stuff, because your stuff still exists. You can still go watch your slashers. They have not gone anywhere. What we have done is we have taken these slashers and we have updated them for an audience and reintroduced them for an audience in a way that they can also embrace them. And that is what I love about remaking horror movies. You talked about Nightmare on Elm Street. I actually really like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
I know.
It's a little more true to form to what Wes Craven wanted to do but couldn't due
Yeah.
to controversy. Obviously, boobs per capita. Love Friday 13th remake. I like Rob Zombie's Halloween remake, the first one. The second one, he just got fucking weird. And the first 15 minutes are fantastic. Once we wake up from the dream, it's all downhill from there,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is one of probably the best horror movie remakes with Jessica Biel, because,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's better than the original, which is not necessarily a popular opinion among Texas Chainsaw Massacre fans, but it's
I
okay.
mean, all of them
Um,
are
and
but
then something that, well, I actually watched two remakes recently. I watched Candyman, which it's not a remake, it's a sequel, but it's fucking fantastic.
it's like
Updated
a
for
cool kind of.
it's updated for a new audience. And then Carrie with Chloe Grace Moretz.
Mm-hmm.
Watched that as well. Julianne Moore as the mom.
Boo.
So yeah, no, we're updating it for a current audience to make it relatable to them. And no, I'm all for that. You know, I want more people to get into horror, and I want more people to love the characters that I love. And if this is how we have to go about doing it, you know, and keeping these characters alive in that way and giving me more stuff to go see because we've revamped them, then I am all for it.
And you brought up like the Universal monsters. I just saw Wolfman. However long ago I saw. See, I know you're skeptical about it, but I think the way that it was shot, I think you'll appreciate. Like
We've
the effects they use and the special effects.
I know that they've been trying to do this Universal horror monster thing for a while. We did like Dracula Untold. We did I Frankenstein. We did The Mummy with Tom Cruise.
See, now that's just disrespectful to Brendan Fraser. Don't do that.
Uh,
Well, I
we've
mean,
done these things.
there's
The
more
Wolfman with
Frankenstein
Benicio
movies
del
coming
Toro, I
out,
believe.
but
They did a Wolfman with Benicio del Toro, I believe, a while ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I don't
we've been
know.
trying to do that for a little while, and I'm waiting for one that really hooks me. Like, I want you to take these monsters and put them in like, so like Spider-Man, right? No, Spider-Man Homecoming. What do? We
Okay.
said everyone knows this story. We're not going to retell the Peter Parker origin story because everyone knows it. You've seen it a million times.
Yeah.
We're gonna start where we're at and move on from there. And I'd like to see that. I don't want to see the origins of Frankenstein and the electrocution and all of that shit. Like, let's pick up with Frankenstein and tell an actual scary story with Frankenstein or the Wolfman. Like, let's
Okay.
not tell the same story over and over and over again and start from the beginning.
I will say I feel like it's a little harder with Wolfman specifically because it's like how do you but the one I just saw I think does a very good job. I just want you to watch it. That's the main thing. Is like please watch it. But you're talking about Frankenstein stuff. This isn't even our thing, and I'm just thinking of this now because there are like 2025 is a very good year for horror movies. From what it is seeming like, excluding the Saw 11 getting the boot. Is there a horror movie coming up this year that you're most excited about?
Ooh.
Because you liked the tweet of mine that I tweeted, because somebody else asked it, and I tweeted it, and you liked my tweet, so that kind of made me think of it.
And what did your tweet say?
I said The Conjuring Last Rites because duh. Found Destination Bloodlines, and I think I said something else, but I don't remember what I said.
Honestly, I think Final Destination Bloodlines is probably at the top of my list for horror coming out this year just because it has been so long since we've got a Final Destination movie. We know that this is one of Tony Todd's last movies before he passed away, and that character is returning. And Final Destination is always a fucking it's a fucking ride. So I can't wait to see what they do with this. And we've already seen a teaser for one of the kills.
Mm-hmm.
Just the insanity that it is. And those movies are so fun to just turn your brain off and sit down and go watch and just be like lost in the ridiculousness of Death's plan to get revenge on these people for whatever reason.
Oh
So
yeah.
yes, The Conjuring 3 was a little hit or miss for me. So
Yeah. Well, this one's supposed to be like I was reading something about it, and I'm probably going to be fucking up a little bit of the synopsis I remember. But this one's focusing more on what the fuck happens to Lorraine and when she kind of gets like possessed in a way.
okay.
So like
Which they
I'm
did
like,
mention the one time.
yeah, so I think it's like when they keep mentioning that like after the Frenchie incident and like she saw something, I think we're finally getting like that.
Valak's coming back.
Honestly, probably.
Maybe.
Throw everything that they have faced at them again just for fun in the
Well,
final movie.
and if you do Valak again, it's gonna be weird because Conjuring 2 came out after, so we know like there's no final conclusion going to Last Rites unless it delves into her backstory and then comes back full circle to like end it in the present time. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see what they do.
Yeah. The other one I wrote down because I had to look it up real quick. Fear Street, Prom Queen.
Yeah, yeah. I know you're a big Fear Street fan.
They're so good because I read the books all throughout like middle school. I was a big Fear Street girly, and I had like a lot of them for like up until like recently ish, and I got rid of all of them. I'm so sad. But they're such good books, and like they're so entertaining because it's just like, people are dying. What the hell? Like, what kind of children's book is this? But like, it makes sense because they're all dying, and they've shown like teaser pictures and like a teaser for Prom Queen, and like even the movie posters are true to the book covers. So like I'm in it to win it. I'm very excited because Netflix did so good with the Fear Street trilogy. Go ahead.
Actually, it's going to be in theaters in 5 days. I forgot about this, but I looked up upcoming. Death of a Unicorn.
Oh yeah, we watched the trailer for that.
I am super excited for Death of a Unicorn.
Jenna Ortega, Paul Rudd,
Evil Unicorn.
Yeah, well, yeah, that unicorn looked pissed. Like pissed.
Oh, yeah, no,
another
Death
thing
of a Unicorn I'm excited for.
Megan 2.0 comes out this year.
Strangers 2, or Strangers Chapter 2. I know not a lot of people were a fan of Strangers Chapter 1, is what it
I
is.
liked it. Edgerton. Black Phone 2.
Black Phone 2.
Ethan Hawke. Let's go. Very excited.
All right. You got any other questions for me?
I do. Yeah, see, I'm always prepared. You don't know. So what is like an obscure quote unquote horror movie or show or anything that you loved as a kid and still kind of find yourself going back to it every once in a while? For example, I'll give you my answer. I loved when I was a kid the Alvin and the Chipmunks meet Frankenstein and Alvin and the Chipmunks meet the Wolfman.
Okay. I do not remember those.
It was like little animated Alvin and the Chipmunks, and they were the cutest little things, and like they had banger songs, like the soundtracks in the movie were incredible, and they were just so fun. Like I distinctly remember watching those as a kid, and I think about them every once in a while, and I'm like, I need to find a way to watch these. Like, so anything like that, if you can think of anything. If not, it's okay.
Obscure horror that I keep going back to.
Or something that you just remember fondly from like childhood. Because again, like that's not really like horror, but
there is. I don't even know if I consider it fondly. It's just a weird fucking thing. All right. There is a movie, I think it's 3 or 4 in the Amityville horror franchise. I want to say it's 3, where they do an estate sale and people have bought things from the Amityville house and brought them into their house.
Probably not a good idea.
And then shit starts happening in their house because of that. Of course. And I remember this one scene ingrained in my head from childhood to this day, where this guy is following his girlfriend and all she is wearing is his Letterman jacket. She's like slowly stripping as he's following her, and he gets to where she's at, and like I said, she's just wearing his Letterman jacket, and he walks towards her, and then the floor like turns into like a flesh-eating quicksand and like sucks him up and kills him as he's like trying to go get laid. I don't know why the scene is stuck in my head, and I might look it up after we get off here and see if I can show it to you, if I can find it on YouTube. But it's fucking crazy, and it is just burned. I've watched, I think, just about everything once in the Amityville franchise, just to say that I have.
Yeah.
But it's burned in my head. Same thing with, like I said, we've talked about it multiple times, Night of the Demons 2, and the hands, the titty hands. Like, those things. And Night of the Demons 2 is definitely an obscure horror movie. But those are the first two things that come to mind, is like, because I go back and I rewatch a lot of shit. But like off the wall, like B movie shit, those are the two that really stick out to me, is Night of the Demons 2 and that random scene from an Amityville horror movie.
Yeah, like the whole time we've been talking and like you kept bringing up Wolfman, I was like, oh, like remember when Theodore got turned into a Wolfman? It was like he's the cutest little thing in the world. And I used to love those movies so much. So I was like, I'm gonna ask Matt, see if and you had like barely had any idea what I was talking about. So it works. And like the Disney Channel shows used to have like Halloween episodes, which were like kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, there's episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark? Specifically the one with the smoking fucking clown.
I fucking hate that clown.
I've recently, they don't have them in order, which pissed me off, but I saw that one of the streaming services had Goosebumps, and some of the episodes are missing, and they're not in the right order, which pissed me off. But like, as a child, speaking of things like in the horror genre that aren't horror movies, I loved Goosebumps. I had all the
Me
fucking
too.
Goosebumps books.
Mm-hmm.
Like, fucking loved Goosebumps as a child. It was my
Mm-hmm.
shit. And the show came on, and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And then Jack Black
Mm-hmm.
did the movies and ruined them. But then the
Well,
show came
okay.
back.
Do you have a favorite from like the old one? Do you have a like few favorite like movies, like little movies? They're basically little movies.
It was a show. Camp Blood, I think,
Okay,
is a
I
good
feel like
one. That
that's not even surprising. That's totally you.
well, the thing I like about Camp Blood was and the thing I like about a lot of the Goosebumps is it feels like it's going one way and then it twists at the end.
Oh, every time.
Where all of this stuff is happening and you're like locked in, and then all of a sudden you find out, I think Camp Blood, it was all of this stuff was staged. It was a prank.
Yep.
Like none of the people actually died, blah, blah, blah. Or like the the one with the fucking monster, the dude in the library, where you find out they're monsters and the parents kill him because if
Oh yeah.
other people find out that monsters exist, they'll come for them.
Yes, I can't remember the name of that one, but I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah. Or Cuckoo Clock of Doom, where
That one
he erases
fucked me
his
up.
sister.
That
And that's the
that one
thing.
was crazy.
The Amityville horror one, I think what they get out of the house is a fucking cuckoo clock, which, like, fuck cuckoo
That was,
clocks.
if we learn
Fuck
anything
cuckoo
from this,
clocks.
fuck Google Clocks.
Yeah.
I was a big Welcome to Dead House girly.
Mm-hmm.
That one used to scare the shit out of me. Like when they all come out at the end, like and try and get in the house, terrifying. Welcome to Horrorland, because it was like a little
Yeah.
game show and they were the monsters. I was like, look how fun they are. Like they're just hanging out. They're all on. Well, they have some of them on Tubi because I would watch them at work because there's nothing else to do because I hate my job. But I would just be watching Goosebumps and just having a great time. There's, I feel like there were so many other good ones. Oh, and the Haunted Mask ones, of course.
Yeah.
Fucking Mary Beth, terrible. Don't put on masks. Don't. That's the lore. There is just don't put on masks.
No, don't
So the kid
steal
does
that.
it in the second one. Well, don't do that either. Like y'all don't learn your fucking lessons apparently.
All right. Any other questions for me?
I don't think so. Any other questions for me?
Are you excited for Scream 7?
Yes and no. Like, I absolutely loved 5 and 6. And I mean, we talked about earlier, like the core 4 and those characters, and then bringing back like legacy characters and everything was really fun. But then, they fired Melissa Beretta, Jenna Ortega quit just to bring Nev Campbell back, basically. And I've always wanted Stu back, and now Matthew Lillard was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be in Scream 7." I'm like, but like, at what cost? Like, how did we get here? Like, seeing Stu Macher interacting with like Sam and Tara would have been so cool. And you were telling me that it might be like AI stuff, and I fucking hate all the AI stuff. So, because it's ruining.
We got to get meta.
I know, but like AI alone is just ruining everything. Because like people are
Deep
using it for
fakes.
bad. Yeah, deep fakes, and they're bad. And movies that are using AI should not be nominated for awards. I'm just fucking saying. I'm talking to you, whatever movie Adrian Brody's in. Because fuck that movie. I have a lot of feelings towards AI. So if that ends up being the case, I'm not looking forward to it. And they're just like they're bringing Roman back, and it like things are weird, and like David Arquette said he's coming back too, and I'm like, I'm done understanding this now.
So we said we don't yuck any yums, and we don't like.
Except
but we also talked about biggest horror turnoffs. People acting as though the worst movie in a franchise is their favorite movie, and I know some people might think, "Oh, but Matt said that he loves Halloween 6. Halloween 6 is not the worst movie in that franchise. I will fight tooth and nail for that. It is not. 5 is far worse.
Yep.
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is far worse.
Yep.
So there's that. Just putting that out there. Scream 3 is the worst fucking movie in that franchise, and people have made it like their whole. I love Scream 3. It's the best movie. Stop that shit. Stop attention seeking.
Get some help.
Unless, I mean, if you really do love it, like, okay, I guess you and I are not the same, which is fine, but it feels a little attention seeking, just a little bit.
A little bit. Yeah, so I have a lot of feelings towards Scream 7. Like, I'm excited, but again, at what cost?
Yep, I feel you. All right, Katie. Well, I think that is it for our first interview. We'll figure out who we're going to interview next and have that guys out for you, and that'll just be me and Katie in the Gory Hole DPing our next guest. It's going to be a good time.
Yay! Woohoo!
Bring your strap on for the next Gory Hole session.
I'm always strapped.
Katie, for anyone who's interested after this, where can they find you?
Oh God. You can follow me on Twitter, GatorHousen13. Linktree in my bio, take out everything I do with Chili Choques, my wrestling podcast. You can check out everything there.
And this is Getting Off, so you guys can follow me on Twitter at Getting Off for your horror content. And also, depending on where you're watching this and or listening, video versions of all of the Getting Off podcasts are up on YouTube at youtube.com/GraciaWorld, where you can check out anything that Katie and I and any of our friends that we are going to have on doing these interview series have done in the past, whether it is movie reviews, franchise breakdowns, trivia, which may or may not be out by the time this comes out, our first episode, panels, all sorts of things that we have for you guys. So go check out our old shit and show us some love. If you guys enjoyed this, please let us know, like, subscribe, comment, and yeah, we will see you back in the Gory Hole with another guest very soon.
Yeah. Gory Hole.
For Miss Katie Kinzy Bebe, I am the patron saint of podcasting, and you have gotten off.